Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television. I'm Manir Dan Ali. Our guest today is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Chief Peter Obi, who prefers to be addressed as Mr. Peter Obi, the former governor of Anambra State. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy that you said it. I'm not a chief. I'm not a doctor. I'm simply Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you very much for inviting me. I know you've consistently invited me, and I thank you. I decided to honor this invitation because of what you people are doing in building a better Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And apparently it is that quality of yours of being simple, of carrying your luggage into airplanes, of not going with long motorcades that may have endeared you to a lot of young Nigerians who are now being called the obedience. I don't know, are you surprised by the kind of reception you've had since you declared and became the candidate of the Labour Party for the presidential election?
Yes, I'm quite surprised about one, the loyalty, especially their sacrifice, which I'm pleading with them to carry it to the end. All I'll assure them is that that sacrifice will not be in vain. I will remember them, I will work, I'll ensure that I serve them faithfully, because that sacrifice cannot be in vain. God will not allow it to be in vain. I am committed to it. I'm committed to building a better Nigeria for the young ones, where they will be proud to say, I'm a Nigerian.
What about your own record? You didn't just come out of the blues. You were a governor. You are a businessman. Indeed, your name featured in one of the controversial papers about people who have become rich and are hiding their money in tax havens. Does all this justify the kind of near adoration that you have been having?
Let me explain everything to you clearly. One, I'm a very successful businessman. So I've been a trader and I was successful. I've been a successful corporate person. So I've served in corporations where I've served in several boards, and I can name them. I've also been a governor. In all this, I've operated as transparent and as efficiently as possible, and can explain and answer for whatever I mentioned in. Before I became governor, I lived in United Kingdom, where again I was a successful businessman. Before I left the United Kingdom, I can show you clearly my documents. I had a good turnover, a good business.
What sort of business
just to give you an example of what it is. I was a market management. I was representing a number of corporations, helping them to do export of their goods, not just to Nigeria, but in other African countries. To show you the level of my business, my bank then, Lloyds Bank UK, I have an overdraft, my company, myself, I have an overdraft of over $7 million.
Pounds, shouldn't it be?
Dollars.
Right.
Dollars, equivalent in dollars. Because I was borrowing in dollars, because I was trading in dollars, mainly because Nigeria trades in dollars.
Right.
I lived in the UK, but I borrow equivalent of dollars because we trade in dollars. If you know the UK when I lived there in the 90s, if you're a black man, you're a suspect. If you're a Nigerian,
doubly so.
You're actually a criminal. I lived in Nigeria, and as at that time, I have the best credit rating anybody can get in the world. And I'm one of the highest small businesses or medium businesses that Lloyds Bank is supporting. I belong to the highest group, where I get letters annually, both from the Prime Minister I'm from the Queen.
So while you are doing all this business, you said you are based in Nigeria.
No. I was based in the UK.
Right.
I was based in the UK. And then it was from the UK that I came to become governor of Anambra State. So when I was declared governor of Anambra State, naturally, I have assets, I have investments in the UK. What I needed to do was to put those assets and investment into a trust. Because the law said to me, you're no longer allowed by law to operate an account. You're no longer allowed to be employed to do any other job, to be employed by another company.
Right.
So all this ceases. But the law didn't say you can't own what you owned before. What it said is that all those things needs to be. So for me, because they were owned, the company I operated was owned 100% by a company in Nigeria, I put all those assets in the UK into what you call a trust. Call it blind, call it open trust, but it was a trust company and say, keep this. I can no longer work with it. I came back to Nigeria, declared everything, my assets, everything.
Including those in the UK?
Yes, because by declaring the company that owns them here, it's like I declared that I'm Mr. Obi. So I now have, Mr. Obi now have a branch. I don't need to declare that branch because it's part of Mr. Obi. So I declared the company in Nigeria that owned those assets. Declared everything, went to work. Eventually, after, this was about 2006.
Right.
In 2021, of course, there was an issue where my name was mentioned, and I've said it consistently. Go and check the investment there. If you see any new investments from the time I became governor to date, even till now, then hold me responsible.
But you know, there's the suggestion that these are vehicles to hide and not pay tax.
No, you cannot hide anything. You
cannot pay tax.
You cannot hide anything because the investments that are there, the tax I'm going to pay is in the judiciary where it is held.
Because where very little tax is paid.
No.
Even though you are earning the money from Nigeria. And
I'm not earning any money from Nigeria.
Right.
There's no investment in Nigeria. The investment is there. The taxes are paid there. So there's nothing like Nigeria is not involved in any way in it.
So it's all the businesses you've been doing, they don't come to Nigeria from the beginning?
No, not from beginning. The ones that come from Nigeria, you pay tax in Nigeria. If I'm doing business in the UK, you pay tax in the UK. That's what the law says. You pay tax based on where you earn the income. So everything, that's what I said, there's no new transaction from the day I became governor to the end. Never. And to date, remains the same.
It's just that you were trying to make the public not to understand that you are this rich. You are putting them in this company.
It's not making the public know that I'm rich. I own shares in companies there in Nigeria. I don't have to flaunt it around. Those companies pay me dividend and they give me my own money. So if somebody comes tomorrow and say, you own this, it doesn't matter. But I don't need to show them. I don't need to wear them around. That's it. So those things are very clear. I pass through corporations. Go and check my records. As a businessman, I borrowed money from banks. To do my business, I don't owe any bank.
So in
I've never defaulted. I've been in corporations where I became even bank chairman. None of them will anybody say I mismanaged 1 naira. I've been chairman of corporations, including SEC. It's here in Abuja.
That's the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Go ask them whether they paid me 1 naira. I've been governor. And as governor, I left $150 million and over 30 billion naira the day I left office.
But there is a dispute over that.
No, there's no dispute over it.
I've seen your successors.
No.
It is something else. It's not exactly what you are claiming.
There's no dispute in it. My successor have even confirmed. Even when I went to Taraba, when I was in, the governor of Taraba said my successor told him that it's the money I left that he used to build an airport. So there's no ego. In fact, there's something you will see very soon that will shock you. When there's a debate where it is confirmed by a regulatory agency in Nigeria that they actually left that amount, you see it. I won't disclose it now. When it's in the open, I'll forward it to you. So it's been confirmed by a regulatory agency that the money I left was true and intact.
So from what you've said earlier, it's like you are a successful businessman, probably a billionaire, but you lead a frugal life. Which is why maybe people think you are just an ordinary Joe.
I don't know what it is. I've never claimed to be a poor man. I've never said it anywhere. I've always said I'm a comfortable man. I'm a comfortable man anywhere on the surface of the globe. Because they said if you have $1 million, you're a millionaire. So I have that. So I'm a millionaire anywhere in the world. And I've never claimed to be an ordinary person. But what I'm saying is that God should not allow me to take public money when He's giving me enough. It's so fair. Why will you go and abuse public one which you can use to serve the poor when God has given you enough? I don't live a frugal life. I live a life within my means. Even when I was governor, that's why you said I was carrying my bag. The way I carry my bag when I was governor is the way I carry it today. And that's the way I want to live my life. Live it quietly.
So let's come back to the campaigning. You've just launched it in Lafia, Nasarawa State, where you arrived in a helicopter. Who is paying for that helicopter? Is it a person? Is it your person or the party? Or is it some other people who are contributing to make your candidature successful?
Very simple, very simple. When you're in politics, you have a lot of supporters in various ways. That we are with a combination of everything you've said.
So you chipped in something.
It's a combination of everything.
Right.
And it wasn't just people in one way or the other are supporting us to do. It's not that I arrived in a helicopter. It was purposely that we needed to be there at a particular time. So we went to different places. That was why it happened like that.
Right. And as a frugal person, do you see the campaign as dissipating so much resources, so much money? The campaigns involve flying around hotels, hiring venues, security, paying party men and all of that. Yes, it can be curtailed. It can be curtailed. But what I'm pleading with people is, please, for the sake of the future of these children, for the future of this country, future of our children, future of the society our children will live in, let's not allow this election to be transactional as it used to be. Let's not allow it to be based on ethnicity, religion, or my turn, and everything as it used to be. Because it's an existential election for Nigeria. Nigeria is in a bad shape. We need to fix it. But you are no different from the other politicians who jump parties. You were a governor in Abga, moved to PDP, and then now, when it didn't seem as if you could get the ticket in that party, you moved to the Labour Party.
Well, I'm different. The difference I am is that when I see things not going the way I think it should go, I move on. I would rather do the right thing and lose than do the wrong thing and win. That's where I'm different. Don't forget, I was the first governor to come through the courts. I conducted the election under ABGA. And when they declared another person, I went to court and stayed for several years and showed that this is wrong. Don't forget, I'm the first, I was impeached and I came back. I realized from one of my interviews that I wasn't the first to come back from impeachment. Somebody came back about 2 weeks before I came back.
So you are a fighter. You don't give up easily.
I'm the first person to seek constitutional interpretation for tenure of governor, and I didn't. And I've been doing that, and I do it because I want us to have a country where there's rule of law. And when I served by the rule of law. I stayed within the Constitution. I never knowingly abused my office. You cannot hear in Anambra State that P2 be ordered for anybody to be arrested. P2B did anything wrong. I didn't allocate myself land directly or indirectly. I didn't take contracts indirectly from the government. There's no way I formed a company that is living off the government, anything. No. I served them faithfully, and I finished and left money. I said it before, and I said it, the monies that I left are in 3 banks in Nigeria. You're a journalist. I left in Access Bank.
But there have been controversies over those monies you are claiming, because I've had people who are saying that these monies are not exactly what you are claiming.
Please do not listen to controversy. This money wasn't kept in the moon. You are Nigerian. I kept the money in Access Bank. I left in Access Bank the day I left office. $50 million, over 10 billion naira.
What about debts that you didn't pay
off? I left in Fidelity Bank, $50 million, over 10 billion naira. I left in Diamond Bank, $50 million, over 10 billion naira. If you want, I'll forward to you these statements. You go to these banks and verify.
But there are people who say not spending money is not a virtue in itself.
Let me finish.
Because there's so much to be done.
Let me finish. Now, you don't allow me to explain myself. Let me explain myself. Please. The day I left office, I was not owing any contractor that have executed his job. Go and verify. I was not owing any supplier who had delivered his supply. Go and verify. I was not owing any civil servant salary. I was not owing any gratuity or any pension. And I am #1 in MDG, which is measure of development, Millennium Development Goals. I started in 2008, 2007, 2008. By the time it was concluded in 2015, I was #1. You can go and ask Federal Government of Nigeria, UNDP, which is United Nations Office, who is #1. It was P2B.
But
in education, I moved from 26 to #1.
That you are saying,
so what again do you want?
Why is it that there is so much infrastructural deficit in that state? Human capital development is still far from satisfactory.
He don't even know Anambra State.
So why
he don't even know Anambra State. I won prize for having the best road infrastructure for Federal Ministry of Works.
And why is the current governor complaining about the situation of the state? If all those
let me give you an example of what it is. It's a very simple thing. I lived in the UK. In my street in the UK, the roads are maintained every 5 years. When we sign contract in Anambra State, we even put the number of years the road will stay. So if the road is if it's just without what you can call a stone base, it's minimum of 5 years. With stone base, 7 years. So if no matter how you do the road, if you don't maintain it, it will wash away. It's simple.
Very interesting point, but we have to go on a short break.
Thank you.
And resume shortly. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, it is 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television. Before we went on break, you are enumerating some of the things you did as governor. Can we move to the present? How can you translate all those to the present, given the situation that Nigeria is?
Well, I have studied countries. I've followed countries of the world. There's so many countries that are today globally that passed through where we passed through. I was in the UK when India was rationing food, when Bangladesh was doing a similar thing, when there's problems in Brazil, there's separatists, there's agitations, when it's happening in Mexico and everything, all those countries have changed. And I've studied what's changed them. That is the difference. I've visited them and I know what is happening in them. They have changed. What has changed is leadership. If you have a leadership that has character, that is competent, that have capacity, that have commitment, that leadership should be able to identify the problems, articulate with their team what to do to solve it, and start solving it.
But this is what many candidates say before they get into power.
That is why what we are now going to say is trust. And I tell you,
but there is very poor trust. I mean, there is a trust deficit. Because people have seen politicians
it's a simple thing.
Heaven
it's a simple thing. That's what I'm saying.
And deliver hell.
That's what they should do. The way they will do it is, Peter Obi is saying this. Let's go to Anambra State, not in Abuja, and ask the ordinary person in Anambra State about Peter Obi. Just like I told you now, I called the bank where I left money, and I've been saying this since I left office for 8 years.
So are you going to be leaving money in Nigerian banks when you become president?
Let me finish. So if you go there, you say to them, Peter Obi said when he came here, schools were closed. We are number 26, and you made you number 1. Is it true? Peter Obi said he won the biggest prize for health. Is it true? Peter Obi said he built a university campus from scratch in Igbariam, Anambra State University. He building faculty of agriculture, faculty of law, faculty of this. He built it from scratch. He said he built a teaching hospital from scratch. Is it true? These are things you do. When you now finish, he said, okay. He said he built the secretariat. There was no secretariat when he came. He built the secretariat. These are questions. When you finish asking this, and then, is it true that they won the MDG prize as best performing governor? When you now finish doing this, you now ask, is it true? If he says he says he's going to fight corruption. For example, if this man says he fight corruption, let's go to the place he left and know whether monies were stolen there. What has mismanagement of money? If this man says he's going to fight corruption, corruption includes how did he make appointment?
Can we unpack it and start infrastructure? Even the present government is being scored high on infrastructure. So what will be different with you?
I don't want to go into what is called this present government.
But this is the government
Nigeria today,
you are trying to show you are better than them.
Nigeria today has qualified as a failed state because they meet the 2 ingredients of a failed state. First is that Nigeria is not control of its territory.
But you, as governor, you have never been in charge of troops and security services.
I said there's banditry everywhere. There's criminality everywhere. 2, they're no longer in charge of our economy. I and you don't even know what dollar will be tomorrow. It could be 700, it could be 800, it could be 900.
But they can say that it's the international situation that is making that to happen.
I disagree entirely.
But what will you do differently? Because let's talk about what you will do differently.
What I'll do differently is that Nigeria is not lacking of, call it, ideas and everything to do. What is lacking is that the institution is weak. The institutions you used to implement is weak.
So how will you strengthen?
The lack of political will is not there. What we are going to do, I and the Vice President, Tati Baba Ahmed, is to ensure that we bring a government that is governed within the confines of what is needed, putting character and competence into it. One, we will secure and unite Nigeria.
But how can you do all of this when in many constituencies you don't even have candidates for National Assembly, and we know that unless you are in control of both the executive and the legislature, you can't go far.
Don't worry about that. Worry about...
You will ignore the legislature?
I say, don't worry about that. I governed the Anambra state with 30 members of the House, none from my party. So don't worry about that. I've told you, we will secure and unite Nigeria. We will show purposeful leadership.
By example?
Period. We will govern by rule of law. We will build a regulatory environment that will attract investment. We will start unbundling Nigeria from consumption to production.
What specific things will you do? Because all these things you are saying is what every candidate is claiming to want.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
The greatest physical assets of this country today is our land. The vast uncultivated land in the north. The vast uncultivated land in the north. That's our greatest physical assets. We have the human assets in the north.
But in all parts of the country as well.
No, I'm telling you, we have vast land, we have vast people. If you today can secure Nigeria, which we've articulated what we're going to do, make the farmers go back, put resources and investment into the vast land in the north. Nigeria today is a country where over 50% of its land, agricultural land, is uncultivated.
So that is just on agriculture?
No, if you put, that's where you start. You have to feed yourself. If you put money in that, you put the resources in that, and make sure there's increased agricultural production, you will easily double your agricultural GDP, which is the highest today. Our GDP today of 180 trillion, about 180 trillion naira. Agriculture is about 41,000 trillion, which is about 20-something%. And if you do the right thing, we are 220 million. If you're able to calculate using 1,000 per person per day, if you do the right thing by ensuring that you're providing food for these people, you're going to double it because it become about 80 trillion.
People say you don't have the structure. That is, you and your party do not have the structure. As I mentioned, there are places where you don't even have candidates. Which magic wand are you going to wave?
The structure that I'm talking about, the structure of criminality, it is the structure that have kept Nigeria where it is today. It is the structure that have produced the highest number of poor people living in a country. It is a structure that have produced the highest out-of-school children. It is structure that have produced highest youth unemployment. It is structure that have produced mental past India in infant mortality. I can go on and tell you.
But which structure will you use?
The structure we are talking is
structure
of human beings. The structure I'm talking about, Nigerians, youths, come and take back your country. This is the structure I need. Go there, vote, stay where you voted, let them count it, let end this structure of criminality. It's a structure that is stealing our oil today. It is a structure that is using subsidy to take our money. It's structure
so
that
you will stop
dollar
subsidy in your own case?
Oh yes, and I use the money.
On first day or within 100 days?
I will use the resources in education, in health, in pulling people out of poverty, and they will see it. Subsidy is benefiting only the rich and those who live in town who have 8, 5, 6 cars.
Sorry, we've exhausted all the time allotted to this program. Thank you very much for coming to 30 minutes.
Thank you.
Viewers, that is it. I'm Manir Dan Ali.